you do something, if it's usually the guy's fault anyway, he does something wrong, they get emotional, they express it, guys see it, they know how to react. If it's a guy with a guy and they're talking and they see the vulnerability, they don't know what to do. And in a general case, in a general scenario, they'll shut down and move away. You know, like, or look for the exit, try and find the door and and run. And I think, you know, that was very fresh for him as well. Only 5 months ago, you know, it's it's a time thing, and also, you know, I really do believe that guys are very closed, and it takes a long time, in my experience anyway, to open the doors for guys to interact, and it takes a bond to make that happen.
So are you saying for a lot of people, seeing a man become vulnerable or show emotion would make them feel uncomfortable and they wouldn't know how to respond to that?
Yeah, I think that's a fair comment, because what's the natural thing for a guy to do if a girl gets upset?
Mm.
Embrace, hold, touch, hand on hand, and be consoling. But when a guy comes into, you know, and I'm like, again, we keep falling back into real world scenarios, and that's, I guess, what we have. But if a guy comes onto the bridge and starts talking to me, you know, honestly, human contact is the first part of consolement. You know, now whether that's a hand on the shoulder or whatever, but it needs to be part of it, in my opinion. You know, because there needs to be a connection and a bond through the trauma to start the process. Because if he's just there talking to a cold statue, then the channel's not open.
Mm. Mm. So a lot of it is also to do with creating that safe space for people to open up and be vulnerable.
Completely.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Dean, for sharing. Right. So as we know, with mental health issues, it doesn't discriminate. Females experience mental health issues, males, whether you pink, black, blue, white, we all experience them, even celebrities. So, what's interesting, out of these 6 celebrities that I've chosen, 2 of them are comedians. And as we know, with Robin Williams, he chose to end his life and suffered from severe depression. So I would love to read some of these insights from them so we can gain a deeper understanding of what it is like to walk in a man's shoes who experiences depression or anxiety. So for this actor here on the left, it's difficult for men in general, I think, because of just the way that we're raised. We feel any of the negative emotions or that dark cloud settle on you, and you feel like you need to cry out or speak to someone about it. And no, I'm not going to do that because I'm a man. What kind of man would I sound like if I told somebody, hey, I'm so sad, I'm crippling sad, I can't get out of bed, I just feel empty, help me? I'd be seen as some sissy. I'd be soft. That's what you're taught. And that's how you were programmed. And that's what kills us. Very powerful, huh? I know it from experience. Growing up, you figure out really quickly how a boy is supposed to act. What we're noticing here is a common pattern, and that is the messages that we receive as children as we grow up. And I was speaking to someone in an interview this morning. Sorry, someone's just popped in. So I was speaking to someone in an interview this morning about the messages that we send to our children. So if they fall over, we quickly pick them up and go, don't worry, you'll be okay. You don't need to cry. And it's those subtle messages that you receive at a young age that really shapes your view, your worldview as an adult. Growing up, you figure it out really quickly how a boy is supposed to act. You learn what it takes to be a man, It's like a playbook. Be strong, don't talk about your feelings, get through it on your own. So for 29 years of my life, I followed that playbook. Another actor. After I came off tour, I was super depressed. I mean, I tried to kill myself. I was really fucked up after that because I had this girl that I thought I was going to marry and we broke up.
Hi Liz, how are you?
And feel
Yeah, good, thanks. Oops, sorry, just let me turn this down.
oh, I can't mute it.
Yes.
Hold on. Is it and
Oh, excellent, excellent. I'm so glad.
there we go. After I came, so yeah, he and his relationship ended and I didn't feel like I knew what I was doing. I wasn't living up to my standard. I was living up to other people's standards. And I just said, I don't see the point. And I spoke to another gentleman this week. He lost his friend based on a very similar circumstance. All his belief systems about himself and around being good enough was dependent on his partner, and that relationship ended, and then he felt like he was nothing. There was no meaning in his life. Who's watched Mad Men here? The series. Brilliant show. So this is the main character here, Jon Hamm. I struggled with chronic depression. I was in bad shape. I knew I had to get back in school and back in some kind of structured environment. I did do therapy and antidepressants for a brief period, which helped me, which is what therapy does. It gives you another perspective. When you're so lost in your own spiral, your own bullshit, it helps. And I love this. I love this language. It's really honest. And from the insights of men attending therapy, they just want to hear it as it is. They just want that directness. They don't want the beating around the bush and all that. They just want to be heard and where they are right now. Not only did I have no idea what depression even was until I was in my 20s, once I was pretty sure that I had it, I suffered with it for another 15 years because I was ashamed, I was embarrassed, and I was afraid. These emotions are what keep people stuck from reaching out for help. So it's so important for us to have these conversations so it's normalized, and this builds the confidence in reaching out for help because they don't feel like they're the only one. One of the best things that helps depression is work and socializing with other people and connecting, because when you work, you find purpose. And that's so important too. I had a client, he was a deckhand, and he was struggling with depression because of COVID. The duties changed. He was on night shift for about 2 weeks, and he was employed as a personal trainer, yoga teacher, deckhand, and he wasn't engaged in the activities that brought him joy, which were his personal training and yoga. He wasn't living out his passion, and that contributes to not feeling of purpose or being able to make a positive contribution. So it's really mindful as heads of departments to take a deep interest in what the crew values and what they're passionate about and what work means to them. And as an individual, if we feel like we're slipping, we need to re-engage in the activities that bring us joy and meaning. You find that with a lot of people that suffer from depression, they've disconnected from all those activities. Okay, so now we're going to go on to stigma. So as I said before, that with mental health issues, it doesn't discriminate. We all can experience them at some point in our lives. However, the difference is how females process emotions and deal with the emotions, and also around asking for help versus men. So a lot of it comes down to the belief systems, as I mentioned before, that develop through our lived experiences. And this can even pass on through generations and generations. And it's up to us at the end of the day as individuals to challenge these belief systems. And I promise you, this comes through conversations, having these conversations. Right. So with regards to some of these belief systems, asking for help is a sign of weakness is an example. Men don't cry, harden up and get over it. Now, I'd like for you guys to take a moment and think about some of the belief systems that you may have heard growing up, or belief systems from peers or others that impact men asking for help. You're welcome to pop it in the comments or just unswitch your mic and share with us an example that you may have heard.
I'll jump in, Karine. There we go. Look, I really heard Dean's comments a minute ago, because I think if this is on men, then we're going to be gender specific. We also put the weight of the roles we inhabit, because we're speaking in a yachting forum. We have a misplaced sense that sharing the vulnerability that Dean spoke of somehow invalidates the role we have. It doesn't. It actually makes your role deeper and better. But that comes from institutional endorsement that asking for help is a sign of weakness. Having gone to sea at 17, living in a mess deck with 60, you do not show emotion. You just get through. That you carry that baggage a long time. It is hard to drop that baggage and mature through it. And it, even if it becomes an anecdotal saying as a joke, come on, mate, harden up, get through, that joke loses its funniness after a while. So I think we embrace the shields that our workplace gives us instead of peeling the layers off. And not many reach, again, sorry, Dean, I'm coming back to you here 3 times, mate. But really to not live to some, if I dare say it, some archetypal and outdated stereotype of what the expectation of your role is, and actually be true to what you need to fulfill that role, which is the support of others.
Absolutely. So what do we do with collusion, where there might be 2 people on board that are quite passionate about speaking with regards to mental health issues, and then the rest of the crew think it's an absolute joke? So how do you manage those 2 worldviews, where you've got half of the crew that are maybe self-medicating and they don't understand mental health issues, so they tease people whether they have anxiety or things like that, and the other half of the crew feel very passionate about it and want to speak up, but then they feel suppressed because they feel like they're on the outside with regards to this topic. And it comes hand in hand, well, not hand in hand, but another example is sustainability. And I've noticed that a lot with crew who are so green focused, and they get outnumbered by just really a couple, and they feel scared to speak up.
I think for me anyway, in the first scenario part of that, it's protect the person firstly and foremost. So make sure you let them know that they're there for you, and deal with that, if you can see that he's traveling with some mental health issues, or he's struggling with something, protect him first, and then deal. But like I've said in other chats, when you walk as a captain, you walk into a group, the conversation could be here, and there could be aggression towards one person. The captain walks into the room and the conversation goes like that, and you don't hear it. So you're only hearing it third hand because someone else. So one is, first step for me, protect the person, right? Then make sure and get them talking. Then when they finally trust you enough, again, the safe space to let you know what's going on, then you can help them deal with the other issues within the area that you're living, or within the boat or the vibe on board. But foremost for me, it's protect the person, and it's not all going to come out in one session or one hit. You're not going to be able to get all your crew, and I just think ongoing education on board finally helps that. And it's funny, that old "it'll be right, mate, grow up," or I actually haven't heard that on my boat for a long time. You used to hear it all the time, when deckhands were struggling or whatever, or complaining about something. I have myself, I haven't heard that comment for a long time. So yeah, but that's how I would, try and protect the person first, and then bring the training in for everyone else if it's an ongoing occurrence.
Yes. So, Dean, what do you think has been the change? Is it the culture that you've established on board? What is the difference?
If I had to put it down to one specific time for me, it was my changing of my opinion. I've been ridiculed for it, and I've said it in different places. I no longer put the owner first. Or the charter guest. On this boat, crew come in front of everybody. Because without crew, we've got nothing. We don't have the people or the ability to serve the owner or assist the charter guests to fulfill their needs. And I changed my perspectives on that about 2.5, 3 years ago. And that's basically for me how I got to that point, because I need to be able to see the micro changes in them. And if I'm not focused on them, then I don't see it. And yeah, if when people say to me, "Oh, we put the charter guest first, no matter what, or the owner," okay, well that's great, but that means at the very best, you're putting your crew second. And I've sort of changed it around a little bit. I spend far more time with my crew than I do with my own family. So that was the catalyst for me.
Yeah. And the crew, they're the backbone of the yacht. With no crew, no operational yacht, it's impossible. And if we want to deliver the service on board, then we do have to take great care of the crew so that they can fulfill their role at their highest potential. And that comes a lot with listening and caring and being empathetic and taking the time. And in an interview that Brendan and I had recently, I said to him, but the comments that I get from captains often is that I'm bombarded with paperwork and admin. I just don't have the time to deal with crew issues. And Brendan said, that's the most important thing you need to do, is check in with every single crew member. It's the job as a leader. Okay, so sadly, these belief systems significantly impact one's ability to reach out and overcome mental health issues. As a result, the most common way guys deal with it is unhealthy and ineffective. So I'm just going to explain to you guys what that looks like. Right, so the number one sign of depression in the majority of men is anger. And it's really interesting because now reflecting on it today, and with the offenders that I was working with, there was so much anger, so much resentment. And now I can see how it's linked to depression. Here it says, like, for us, the most common behaviors associated with depression is withdrawal and isolation, and a lack of care for your hygiene. So I had an inmate in his early 20s, and he didn't leave his cell for weeks, and his fingernails were literally that long. His hair was as long as mine, and he was suffering from a severe depression to the point where they were going to remove him and put him on 24-hour surveillance. And he was put on my caseload to really help him talk and get out of his cell. And the only way I achieved that was just showing up every single day and being consistent. And slowly but surely, he came out and we spent more time together talking, walking around the yard. And then he started engaging in those activities that were important to him. He started working out, going to the library and all those sort of things. But another common sign is anger, and which noticeably is so different to being withdrawn. Right. So this is
what happens to
there we go. So this interview, I did my mental health first aid with this gentleman. He was working in the prison doing similar work to myself as a clinician. He worked on the front line for the police force in attending emergencies. So very, there was one story that stands out for me that he told me. The family home caught on fire, and there were people in the house, and the children were cremated. Is that correct? Yeah. So, and then he came out, and his superior said to him that, he just said some horrible comments about them being crisp potatoes, and that really those comments of like, oh, just get over it, come out in that form. And it's very difficult for people to feel supported and open up, especially in a debrief where you're supposed to, in those critical incidences, to unpack it. It's not healthy. And another example was when a prisoner hung himself, and they just made light of it and took it as a joke, and that really breeds toxicity and encourages people in a way to suppress the emotions rather than speaking up. So this is what he has to say about asking for help in the workplace.
What happens to an industry where you can't feel comfortable enough to ask for support, or you don't have the strategies or tools to manage mental health issues or stress?
From what I've seen, you either suffer in silence or you join the cultural coping strategies, which what I witnessed was drinking, other high-risk behaviours, gambling, drinking, gambling, going out long hours, not having enough rest, not looking after yourself, basics, exercise, diet. A lot of people now, later on in life, that I still see have health problems because they would, eat bad food, would drink too much. And I think that to me, a lot of that is a result of poor strategies. So when you just toe the line, the company says one thing, but the reality is another thing. And I think that's probably one of the worst situations to be in, because you are isolated and you don't have that support. And the culture is, if you ask for help, you're considered high risk, where a little bit of support along the way could make a difference. You're considered, well, you could be a risk to this industry, whatever the industry is. The specific industry I was in, it was where you're considered a risk to it.
Did anyone resonate with what Scott is saying in that video?
Yeah, Karen, can you hear me?
Yes.
I was just thinking that regarding depression, I've been depressed myself, so that's why I joined the group tonight. But it all starts with being aware of it. And our industry is such a tricky one, because as a captain, we have the luxury to have our own cabin up the bridge, so we have our own space. But any other crew member, from 8 to 5, they are always with a teammate. They eat together, they go to the gym together, and then they share a cabin. So you don't really have a space to cry or to, you know, to share your emotions. And for a guy, it's complicated. And for me as a captain, I felt very lonely many times because I didn't know to whom to talk. And I thought, you know, if I tell some of my crew, I might lose some of their respect. They look up to me. I'm supposed to be the strong guy. I'm like the model. And so I'm supposed to pull everyone up. But we work long hours. We're away from our families. So we don't see our partners. We, you know, whenever we've got a bit of a break, it's all in excess and abuse. As I think Dean mentioned earlier, or Brendan, I can't remember. We go out and, you know, a crew dinner turns into from one bottle of wine to, I don't know how many, come home, little sleep, and so on. So it is the environment we work in is also where we live. And so we don't allow ourselves the space and to be aware that you are not well. It's not just a feeling of being sad, it's actually taking the time. And it starts with, you know, when I quit my last job, I took 2 months off and I came here and doing all the work that I've done with myself made me realize I never allowed it. And I always found an excuse. Oh, I work so hard, you know, 18 hours a day and I don't have time, and the weekends I'm busy, and I always keep busy to avoid looking at these things that are actually triggering inside of you. And I think that's the main issue on a yacht, is that people don't take the time for themselves. And it's not when you go home for 4 weeks a year where everyone is excited to see you. So you don't sit down with yourself, your parents, your friends, and you're busy, you're excited, you tell them all you've done, you go out even more, and then boom, you come straight back to work. And yeah, I mean, I don't know what's the solution on the long run, but I believe that captains should, if they can, implement, like we, you know, sometimes we run drills monthly, we do medical talk and briefings. Well, maybe we should also allow this, have a crew meeting about how everyone's feeling, and it's just an open door. You were not obligating anyone to speak up, but just the fact that I think the crew can know that there is an option to come up the bridge and sit down and talk to somebody. And I believe management, I'm sorry, I'm not a big fan of them because I think we pay them a lot of money and don't really get involved with this. And when you run an audit on a boat, it's also part of their job to actually assess the vibe. How is everybody? You know, how do you can walk through a room and feel the vibe of a girl that's not comfortable, or a guy that seems like he's not having a healthy life. But they don't do that. And to me, that's the major issue. The work environment we're in doesn't allow the time for us to actually look at ourselves properly.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that, Freddie, and being vulnerable. Thank you. I appreciate it. There's so much in there. Firstly, as you've highlighted, Freddie, noticing the signs with your crew when you start to see those small behavioral changes and following it up and being persistent, because the crew might initially say, I'm fine, nothing's wrong with me. And you keep asking, are you okay? Because I've noticed that you're not eating. I've noticed that you're spending more time in your cabin. I've noticed that you're drinking more. And you just be consistent and follow up. The other thing is, when I had the conversation or the interview with Brendan, he opened my mind up to what captains go through. And I just think it must be so incredibly isolating, just based on the whole setup of the hierarchical structure of yachting. And it's like, well, you know, you're taking care of the guests and a huge family, but who's taking care of you? And
Nobody.
And that must be so tough. So tough. It must be so lonely. And it's like you're there to solve problems, put the fires out. And as Brendan said, like the way captains are trained is, there's a problem, I must fix it. I must fix it. Which is so interesting. And what Brendan said in the interview is that we need to spend more time taking a step back and actually listening. We've forgotten how to listen.
Corinne, can I just thank you for remembering that interview? It's Freddie, to your point, an interesting one. I think an important tool when you talk about it isn't optional to look after people. Everyone talks about the ISM code and thinks it's a few forms. There's an interesting little obligation in there. It's to implement the safety and environmental policies, motivating the crew in observance. Physical health, mental health, safety, they're one thing. Men's mental health, very much so. You cannot be compliant if you're not looking after the health and welfare of your crew. We are on a specific topic of men's health, but just, Freddie, as you mentioned it, those people coming to assess the fire extinguisher, whether it was serviced or not, that is important, but the motivation and mental health of that person to get up out of their cabin and pick that fire extinguisher up and fight the fire is much more important. And I think that's an important thing for everyone to remember, that that's actually an obligation on us as masters. It's a big obligation.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with you completely, and I've always tried my best to motivate my troops, but when the motivator is down, and as Karen mentioned, captains, we carry the burdens of everybody. So the stewardess that's in love with the guy, and then she's sad and she doesn't understand why he doesn't look at her. Your boss was cheating on his wife and was doing this and this and that. So we carry the problems of everyone, and we can't talk about it to not many people. So, you just accumulate stress for everything, and the spare parts, which is late, and the guy wants this now, and the delivery is wrong, and all of this together just creates even more stress. And so I remember I was hiding behind my job. I believe I'm a good captain. I've always had longevity and reference and all, but nobody knew that I was depressed, and I kind of refused the idea that I was depressed, but that's a fact. And it took me a big event in my life to actually, it was like a signal, Freddie, stop, or something's going to go wrong. And when you have a beautiful life, nice cars and nice friends and traveling and everything, but you still think about maybe it would be better if the life is over, that is a serious matter. And I never really had the courage to actually admit it and to talk to somebody until I took the time, and I had to impose that to myself for my personal health. So now that I feel better, I'm sure that when I'm on my next job, I'm going to be even greater than before, because I'm going to be more listening and more alert to little signals where I will recognize myself and be like, maybe this guy needs a hand or just a little talk, and maybe allow in my working space, as Dean said, maybe he's right. Crew is number one, because you can be the greatest captain of all time. If you don't have a good team on deck, you will fuck up your maneuvers. If you don't have a great team inside, safety will be always at risk with dust and heat, and the lights are forgotten, or name it. Maybe prioritize the crew more, and which I probably didn't do because I was stuck in my own stuff before.
Thanks, Freddie. Okay, so some of the signs that you see that are commonly overlooked with regards to what depression looks like in men is physical pain. So the physical symptoms can be backache, frequent headaches, sleep problems, sexual dysfunction, digestive disorders. Anger, we've covered this before. This could range from irritability, sensitivity to criticism, so short fuse, or a loss of the sense of humor to road rage, a short temper, or even violence. Reckless behavior. A man suffering from depression may exhibit escapist or risky behavior, such as pursuing dangerous sports, driving recklessly, or engaging in unsafe sex. You might drink too much, abuse drugs, or gamble compulsively. That we've noticed one of these behaviors within ourselves or others at some point in our lives. Okay, so what suicide might look like in men? There are three distinct stages. Stage 1, agitation and anger, lack of problem-solving capacity. Stage 2, increased risk-taking and carelessness, social withdrawal, talk of death and dying. So I had this last week. I had a head chef that called me. He was in his hotel room and he had taken a bottle of pills and was drinking copious amounts of alcohol, and he had abstained from alcohol for a very long time, so he relapsed. Very scary, and I think as professionals within the industry, we need to be equipped with the knowledge and how to deal with these situations, because you're hearing them happening more and more. Stage 3, tying up loose ends, out of character connection with friends and family, quick shift to positive mood, or periods of extreme calm, increased self-destructive behavior, such as compulsive work. This is the stage of them. So on average, one man dies by suicide every minute of every day. That blew my mind, but I can understand why. So here's another activity that we can do. That's William coming in. So what I would like for you guys to do is think about yourself. Recently suffered from depression, or have, or currently are, or if you know of someone who could be struggling with depression. Rather than answering these questions as a clear yes or no, Holly's going to laugh at me because I love using this in therapy. I'm going to ask you to use or the others that have done the therapy sessions with me, a continuum. So what a continuum looks like, it's a scale, and we start with a numerical value of 1 on one end and then 10 on the other. And 10, I would like it to be extremely, so you felt a sense of hopelessness or helplessness a lot, so extremely, and the other end of the spectrum at number 1, not at all. So think about either yourself, if you have suffered from depression or currently suffered from depression, or if you know of someone who could be, what would you rate yourself or that other person on the scale? So I think I've got 4 questions there. So number 1, you feel hopeless and helpless. On a scale of 1 to 10, extremely, or 1, not at all. You've lost interest in friends, activities, and things you used to enjoy. You're much more irritable, short-tempered, or aggressive than usual. You're consuming more alcohol, engaging in reckless behavior, or self-medicating. You feel restless and agitated. Your sleep and appetite has changed. You can't concentrate, or your productivity at work has declined. You can't control your negative thoughts. If you want to take a screenshot of this, you're most welcome. These sort of questions would be helpful to ask your crew or friend or loved one if you think they are struggling with depression. And it also gives an indication with where we're at with our emotions or our ability to deal with stresses or our daily activities, because a lot of it we tend to brush to the side, and we either consume alcohol or take drugs to mask the problem. There's all these behaviors that we may not actually be conscious of that we're engaging in, that signals to us that something's not okay. And what I hear often with men in therapy is they struggle, as Freddie was saying, to acknowledge the feeling of depression. And I hear a lot from them, their comments are, I wasn't depressed, I was just unhappy for 3 years. They really struggle to use the word depression. So again, it's the stigma attached to the word depression. So we need to start having these conversations to normalize these feelings and for people to feel okay to feel this way. It's temporary, it doesn't have to last forever. Okay, so here I've created some examples. Reframing is a very powerful technique to help people get out of that negative headspace. So an example would be someone might say to you, you don't dwell on these things and you don't talk about it, you just cope. And this is an opportunity for you to reframe it in a positive way that empowers the individual. So person B could say, there's no shame in suffering anxiety or depression, they're treatable health conditions. So using a statement like this will elicit feelings of hope. Help seeking is a sign of weakness and failure. I'm not going to ask for help. Taking action is associated with taking control and staying strong. So more of an affirmative response. Drugs are the only treatment. There are a range of courses of action available and treatment can be tailored. So be very mindful in the language that you're using with people who are struggling, because this is an opportunity to shift their mindset. Okay, one last video.
Correct.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just also, on that last slide, I also think that if people, not necessarily looking at us as leaders, but if you're asking those questions yourself in your own head,
yeah,
that is also a great, if you are the 2 slides back, if you're talking to yourself in your own head, and like Freddie said, you know, I often say to people when they go, oh, what's it like being a captain? And I go, well, it's lonely at the top. And they sort of like joke because they think when you're a captain, you sit at the top of everything, but it is extremely low there. And so much of what Freddie said resonates in my head. And, you know, I really appreciate the fact that he had the strength to say that. But if you find yourself saying those things in your own head, those paragraphs are great for yourself to say them to yourself to help you get your head in the right space as well, not just for us to share with others below us.
Yes, correct. But it's also when you're in severe depression, it's so hard to take yourself out of it and use those reframes.
Oh, for sure. No, I 100%.
Right, I just need to move a couple of things.
Sorry to interrupt your thought process.
No, I'm just managing the technology here and my screen. So this is the last little video that I would like to share with you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Andre Agassi. Andre wants to say a few words.
Thanks. The scoreboard said I lost today, but what the scoreboard doesn't say is what it is I have found. And over the last 21 years, I have found loyalty. You have pulled for me on the court and also in life. I found inspiration. You have willed me to succeed, sometimes even in my lowest moments. And I have found generosity. You have given me your shoulders to stand on, to reach for my dreams, dreams I could have never reached without you. Over the last 21 years, I have found you, and I will take you and the memory of you with me for the rest of my life. Thank you.
So that's a perfect example of a reframe and a lovely way to almost end this presentation. And that is, how do you want to show up? How do you want to showcase the behaviors we want to see in others, in our community, whether it's on board or society? Because we are all role models, and we want to hopefully be positive role models towards others. And it all starts with us and the choices we make.
Karen?
Yes.
I wanted to say something also, as this video kind of shows, you know, I also think that the captains are under the spotlight at all time. You know, we're being looked at by our managers, by the owners, by the neighbor, by the crew. If you want to go one night, you know, and literally get loose a little bit, it's difficult. You need to pick a bar where maybe there's nobody from the industry there, because they're going to say, oh, he's like a drunkhead, when actually you're just having a night off, to release a little bit the pressure. So we're constantly walking on eggshells, making sure that we're looking the best, putting a face. And for my part, it's been the hard thing. And I mean, this is a completely different topic, but all my behaviors and issues that I had were linked to my childhood. And until you don't go to therapy and do the work, you know, you will keep repeating the same scenarios over and over again. And it's stupid, because the answers are inside us. And when I've discovered this, I was just astonished, and I wish to share this with other people, for them to maybe, you know, lighten up their life, or maybe for them to avoid making the same mistakes that I've made. And I mean, this is a long journey. It's life, you know, we learn every day. And this is why I always appreciate talking to all the captains and people that are, you know, 10, 20 years ahead of me, because they've seen it before, and a lot of them can teach you something. And we should not be ashamed, because that's the main part. I was ashamed, so I couldn't look at it straight. No, I'm not ashamed anymore. I've done things. I'm happy to share it and talk about it. What matters is that I've learned, and I've realized my mistakes, and asked for forgiveness to the people I've hurt, or to people I've disappointed, and change the attitude to be better, because this is just, this is all I wanted to say.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Brady. So reaching out for help is in fact an act of courage. Yes, courage. It's not a matter of not being able to handle it. It's about creating and maintaining a life of healthy balance, so that you can do more of what's important to you. So by helping yourself, you're in fact allowing others to help you. I just want to thank you all for showing up today, and for those of you that shared your lived experiences, because this is the whole part of process work, and this is something that we do in the membership that we recently launched a couple of months ago now, and it's providing that safe forum for us to have these healthy discussions and feel connected and heard. So I hope that you had a taste of what that looks like today, and I hope that you do have a takeaway, something that's written on your piece of paper, something new, something old that you've perhaps forgotten, or something that you want to, maybe it's a legacy that you want to leave, something that you want to impart with the world. Okay, so here you've got a screenshot of our various coaching and guest expert session within our membership. As you can see, you may recognize a few people within this masterclass in the membership. We have Holly here, we've got Sally, who's also here with us tonight, and Dean. And this membership was launched only 3 months ago now, and it's been a great success. These are the founding members, and we will be opening the membership again on the 28th of December. However, for those who are watching this masterclass, either live or recorded, we are opening up this membership for a very limited time only to those of you who want to get in at the founding member price, because the prices are going to increase on the 28th of December. But let me tell you a little bit about this membership and what it has done for crew members. So this membership is designed to build connection, inspire, and empower. And how it works is supporting crew to find fulfillment in their personal and professional life. Obviously, we have challenges and we might not have the skill set to overcome those challenges. So through the membership, we learn the skills and strategies we need to know in order to live a more fulfilling and fruitful life. So one of the members sent me this message. I'm so grateful for the membership and the support, because after my previous job, I felt very alone. I had lost faith in the yachting world and love how supportive and uplifting the group is to be part of a community, to feel less alone, to be surrounded by other people that have similar thoughts and feelings and aren't just interested in going out and drinking all the time. They are also looking into personal professional growth, that there are good people in the industry and I'm not alone in having bad experiences on board or being unsure and wanting to make the industry better in some way. Dear Karine, I can't thank you enough for the coaching session yesterday. I truly feel so grateful and blessed to have been able to benefit from so much of your time. Thank you. It was incredibly helpful and has set me on a great path for the week ahead. You're an amazing person to talk to, and you make it easy to open up about things I would normally find very difficult to speak about. Looking forward to joining another session soon with the other tribers and also for the guest presentation this week. So we have group coaching, which includes a very similar format to what you've experienced in the masterclass today. I have guest experts once a month, and I have guest experts that come in once a month who deliver live training on specific topics. So the members got to choose a list of their top experts that I presented to them, and the categories that they fall under is under well-being, personal development, and professional development. So the membership is about creating a safe space for super yacht crew to share, learn, grow, and thrive. Who is it for? It's designed to empower individuals to become the best versions of themselves, supporting them to transform challenges into opportunities so that they can live a more meaningful and purposeful life. What does the membership include? I've covered a couple of these points already, but access to the members in the community. This is very powerful because you're forging positive, strong relationships and building that positive support network, which helps with combating mental health issues. We've already had 2 of the members connect, and now the one member is working under the chief stew within our community. So that was extremely positive. And also behind the scenes, people are connecting with one another, asking for help, which is part of our format here at the TCC Tribe. It's about reaching out for help and connecting with those that can uplift and inspire and support you. I've covered the guest experts. It fulfills a need for connection and understanding. Based on my research, I noticed that this was seriously lacking in our industry. So I present once a month and I deliver a mini training on a particular topic, which is normally based on the needs of the TCC Tribe members. And along with the guest experts and myself, you do get worksheets that you can use to help on your learning journey. And then I've covered the group coaching. The success path of this membership is non-linear, meaning that there are 4 particular stages that we go through in our learning journey, but a life event could happen where we feel we may need to go back to the first stage or the stage before you were at previously. So just to go through those stages, connect. This is about building relationships. So you'll be doing this in the initial stages of the membership as you get to connect with others and get to know them. And that's also about you showing up for the members. It's about engaging with other posts. It's about showing up for the guest expert coaching and the training and all of that stuff. Then we've got Discover, Casting the Vision. And this has a lot to do with self-awareness. So if you are self-aware and you've got an understanding of the areas for development and what you want to work on, you can start casting the vision of how you want to get there. When you know the how, then you can start getting your needs met. So then we have Develop. This is developing your toolbox of skills. This is about developing your toolbox of skills in 3 core areas: the personal and professional development and well-being. So in this stage, you've grasped the techniques and the skills, and you're going out there and you're applying it. But not only are you applying it for yourself, you're able to impart your knowledge and support, inspire, and empower others. So there we go. If you want more information about mental health support, I am a qualified counselor. I also offer courses. As I said before, I have an array of different services that focuses on human behavior and overcoming personal and professional challenges. And then Brendan they've just recently launched Yacht Crew Help, and I strongly advocate to support them and believe that, you know, there's not just one person that can help. It's about finding the right platform to support you and your needs. I also offer counseling, and what's so fantastic about Yacht Crew Help is that, and ISWAN, is that there's 24-hour support 7 days a week. Yeah, and we will be launching a mental health first aid course, and it will also operate on the same grounds as our founding members for the membership, where we will develop the program together. So I've got the platform and the structure of the course, and it takes me about 2 years to develop a course. This is 3/4 the way through. My style of training is very different. As I said with the presentation, I do not like downloading information. I like it to be interactive with my students. We learn, we apply, and we come back and we process and we talk about it. So I hope that you found the presentation helpful. If you want to ask any questions, I can stay on for an extra 5 minutes. Otherwise, if you've got a takeaway that you would like to impart, please do.
Just for me, like coming through what you do, Corinne and Brendan with Yacht Crew Help, is it's what we never had before, and that's what's making the difference. We've never had it, we didn't have it, and until someone stops you in your tracks and makes you open your eyes, you never knew you needed it because it wasn't there before. And for that, I thank both of you.
Dean, I keep saying the refrain. Our crews today are better informed, better educated, higher performing than ever before. All the problems, they're not new. We're just, Corinne speaking of it, others are speaking of it. We're now just supporting people. It feels great to have a tiny role in that. As the contributors today have said, that I didn't even realise my own impact, and I'll share this. Leading a crew 12 years ago, I thought I was the light and fluffy friend to all the captains. It took a very strong purser who said to me, sometimes you come into the crew mess in the darkest mood and just shut down the whole yacht. I didn't even know I did that. I said, really? I don't. She just nod, say yes, and process it. And to have that impact on others, that was almost a ground, she's probably forgotten she said it, but it was almost the ground zero of my need to change and not be the outcome-driven captain. As you said, Dean, to realise the inputs of a successful crew, a successful operation are the crew. And if you focus on the outputs, you're going to fail. You can't focus on the outputs. So yeah, no, to realise the weight of obligation and the impact you had on others started, whatever that was, 13 years ago, a bit of a journey.
Incredible. And yeah, thank you so much for your involvement and putting your thoughts and your voice out there, because I know that it just starts with one person and then more and more of us will feel comfortable in speaking up. And this is why I have created this platform, whether it's this or social media, because I want us to feel safe and feel comfortable in our own skin to be able to voice how we really feel. I would hate to see any further suicides happening in our industry. Okay, I wish you all a wonderful evening, a wonderful day, a wonderful morning. And thank you so much for showing up today. It means the world to me.
Thank you.
Thanks, Corinne.
Bye.